We gon' run it, hit the field, blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North Talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Hey, knock them out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North Talk. Let's go. Hey, AFC North Talk.
Welcome to another edition of AFC North Talk. Here we are, rankings. Jared, this is your first year doing this rankings. People do get in their feelings for their rankings. I'm gonna tell you that right now. It will come up throughout the year. Whatever
Jared,
you rank now,
a player or a position group at one place during this summer, and somebody will spend the whole next 5 years hating you because you did it that one time.
It's okay. Nothing I'm not used to when it comes to, writing something or, posting a graphic on Twitter that you make about, it's just having an opinion in general. Yeah. It's more so for me, like from Dolphins fans, because I spent the last 3 years telling them that their team sucks and being right about it each time. So I'm still just kind of coasting off that, but I'm looking forward to this. Yeah, this will be good.
Before we start with the ranking, which today is the Edge ranking, and by the way, Ace, he sent a video. He couldn't make it. He was stuck on work. But we're talking Aaron Rodgers watch. We were talking before the segment here, before we started the video, and.
How many more podcasts will Aaron Rodgers appear on before he signs?
You know what? How funny would it have been, though, if like Joe Rogan was the one to break that Rodgers was signing with the Steelers before Shefty?
We're seeing Joe Rogan?
The worst timeline.
It would have been hysterical. And I was all for it. I was ready for it. I didn't necessarily expect it, but if it would have happened, I would have laughed very hard.
So he did. He went to a conference, whatever it was. There were some fans there. Some Bears fans were saying whatever. When are you gonna retire? And he said, I want to. I'm thinking about playing with a team that is coming here to Chicago one more time. The Bears suck, and obviously people went with that because the Steelers play with the Bears in Chicago. Also the Vikings, which is the other rumor that he wants to be.
If he plays this year, he's gonna play for Pittsburgh, right? Yeah. I don't think anybody's the question is when's he gonna actually sign the contract, right? What's the experience gonna be like with Aaron Rodgers once he gets there? Because as great as Aaron Rodgers has been in the past, my man is 42 or 41, gonna be 42 in December, right? So. There is a reasonable expectation that even the guy he was last year, which was not, multiple time MVP Aaron Rodgers, and you look at some of his advanced numbers, probably at the bottom of the league, or at least the bottom of what you would expect from a starting quarterback. There's a reasonable expectation he's going to get worse, right? You don't just age gracefully once you're 40. It could be 1 year you're all right, and then the next year you're off. And we talk a lot about Cook Russell Wilson. Just think about how much younger Russell Wilson is than Aaron Rodgers.
That's fair enough.
Look, I think that
6 years younger.
6 years, I think, yeah, because
he's a whole Tyler Shuck college football career younger than him.
It's completely fair to say that you might not have high expectations for Rodgers. I throw in the caveat of it's the Jets, and sometimes weird stuff just happens with them. And I don't know, man. I think that he's not going to be. I think at minimum he's going to be as good as Russell Wilson was throughout the entirety of the season. As an average, obviously Russ started hot and then just fell off completely. I think that if can Rodgers give you 22 touchdown passes and throw less than 11 picks? I think so. If he does that and the defense plays well, they'll probably be in the same spot that they are, or that they were this past season.
Do you think the team around him, the team that you had last year, do you think this team is better than they were last year around the quarterback position, or the same? Because I don't know if they're the same as they were last year.
I think closer to being just like basically lateral, obviously Pickett's not being there anymore. Opposite of DK will impact that, but it's similar to what they were last year, where if you want to say DK is better than George Pickens, which I think most people would, Roman Wilson's kind of the wild card. If Roman Wilson plays pretty well and exceeds expectations, then that's another, quality pass catcher that you have. The rumors that they're trying to get another one, like they're talking Tampa Bay potentially about Trey Palmer, Miami about Jonnu Smith. Like it's
tight end galore.
They're not going to blow anybody away offensively. I'm not going to make the argument that their offense is going to be great.
What are their key losses, Q? To your point, you got DK for Pickens. You lost Najee, which y'all know how I feel about Najee for the rookie from Iowa, right?
My whole thing with Pittsburgh is that they're aging. Right, they've been aging for a while, right? Their defense is getting older. The offensive line is the one area that has gotten much younger. A couple of years. But is the offensive line good? Do we feel great about where the Steelers' offensive line is? I think there's some people can make an argument that they feel better about the Steelers' offensive line than before, right? You got Fontanu, but there's still some things that are like lingering there where you're like, I don't know if this rebuild has been successful on the offensive line. The run game, like what you swap out Najee with Caleb Johnson.
Yeah.
And that may or may not be basically the same thing, but we're talking about a rookie replacing what, Najee's not the greatest pro in the world, but he's still a solid professional running back, right? So it's not a guarantee that a rookie year one's going to step in and be able to hold that void. We'll see.
Your tackle's also like a rookie. He was a last year's rookie that didn't play, correct?
Yeah, Fontanu got hurt last year.
Around the offensive line too, right? Like
Did he
moved him around, didn't they?
He got hurt in training camp, played weeks 1 and 2, got hurt again, and that was done for the year. Or maybe got hurt in week 3. Regardless, he didn't play a lot. So that's why Dan Moore was at left tackle, Broderick Jones is at right. Now Broderick Jones is finally going to be the left tackle with...
Which is kind of crazy after 2 years of Broderick in the right tackle. They're going to put him in the left.
Well, I mean, that's his natural position, so hopefully...
But isn't Fontanu play left in college, right?
He played all over the place, so they feel pretty... The fact that they were comfortable enough to start him at right tackle, the Steelers, it's like pulling teeth in recent years for them to start rookies. They didn't start Broderick right away, and they drafted him in the first round. It was very apparent, Troy Fontanu was going to be our starting right tackle, and then obviously he got hurt, so that put a little bit of a wrench in things. But I'm completely confident in Fontanu being at least like an average starter. I think he's going to be good. The big question is how good is Broderick Jones going to be at left tackle?
That's another thing.
That's kind of the wild card.
Is the absence of Dan Moore going to be felt, right? And I know it sounds silly as much as we memed on Dan Moore, but look, there's a difference between having Dan Moore as your left tackle and having a turnstile there, right? Like there's and like we're not even talking about like, okay, a young player, what if they start getting a lot of pre-snap penalties because they're getting their ass whooped all the time, right? And that leads to you being behind the sticks. The Steelers are not an offense that's designed to be behind the sticks, and that throws everything off for Pittsburgh, right? And that's another area of concern. DK for George Pickens, I could agree that you probably got better at wide receiver there with DK over George, even
and
though
he also Robert Woods basically replaces Van Jefferson, so that's at worst a lateral move.
And then you got your smattering of guys.
You got Calvin Austin, Scotty Miller, Ben Skoranek. Calvin Austin, to his credit, had a nice season last year for, the third or fourth receiver in the rotation. So I'll give him his props. I didn't think he was going to be all that great, but he had a nice little year for himself.
Yeah, my issue with the DK Metcalf one is that you just advanced the timeline of a team that doesn't really have a timeline with the DK Metcalf trade, right? Like, other than that, like, I get why you make the swap for the player. If you're just thinking about this season, DK Metcalf gives you a little bit better value than George Pickens. It's just like, okay, well, what are you really going to be in the next few years, though? Like, to take advantage of the contract that you just gave DK Metcalf there.
You better hope that the guy you take in 2026 rules.
We're like, who are they going to pick in 2026, right? Like, are they going to pick a quarterback in 2026? Right?
Oh, come on, Q. They're going to.
We've been thinking they've been about to pick a quarterback the last since what? When did we figure out that Kenny Pickett was going to stink? What, 2 years ago?
When was he? What day was he drafted? That'll tell you when I knew.
I mean, I agree with you. Right?
April of 2022. I was pretty certain.
This show agrees with you. There's a meme that goes every year.
Yeah, we were excited when the Steelers picked Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
So it's it's one of those things where it's like, is Pittsburgh going to do it? Because like Pittsburgh feels like one of them organizations that, you know, are going to have a little bit of cold feet about replacing the quarterback position or being aggressive there. Because like everything they've done at the quarterback position is not scream, hey, we're being super aggressive here, right? Like it's like, oh, we're going to make this safe move. We're going to get Russell Wilson for $1 million and play it out and see what happens between Justin Fields. Like the second it became, hey, you got to pay Justin Fields a little bit of money to keep him as your starter. Oh, you know, we'll get one of the old guys, right? You know, we'll play it safe here, get one of the old veterans here. And it seems like that's a pattern. Even when you go back to the Kenny Pickett days, it was like, oh yeah, you brought in like Mitchell Trubisky, right? Like, you know, so is this a team that's really like, is Omar Khan's philosophy going to be aggressive enough to where he's going to be like, yeah, I'm sitting at like pick 15. Let me move up, get a guy I want.
I think it will be personally, because like you look at the past years and whatnot, the quarterbacks that they could have gone out and got, like there really wasn't any like star guys. Like the Kenny Pickett year, Deshaun Watson was the big kind of potential big catch.
Well, Deshaun was on the move. Russ was on the move that offseason. I think the next offseason that was Aaron Rodgers on the move. But these weren't really like free agent moves. Like
right.
Deshaun.
It was like, okay, you got to trade for guys or you got to, you know, pay big money and whatnot. So even and the draft, what was it last year? I don't think they weren't really in position to take, you know, it was going to be Caleb, Drake, and Jaden were all going to go in the top 5. They were in a position to trade up there. So like, I'm not, if they didn't love any of these quarterbacks, I'm not totally opposed to them, you know, staying put and waiting. I think that this is going to be the year where it's supposed to be a loaded class and they have the ammunition to move up a little bit to get one. So I think that this will be the year where, or 2026, I should say, will be the year where they kind of move up for it.
I agree with you. I just think the issue with the conclusion is this. What's going to stop next year from being that for them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you've got only Mason Rudolph and Will Howard on the roster, that's, you know,
Will Howard might be the savior.
What did they have on the roster before the draft this year? It was just Mason Rudolph, right? Like
with Aaron Rodgers in parentheses.
What has to be attractive enough at the quarterback position to make a team like Pittsburgh bite at it? I only say this because I think the Browns are in a similar team where it's like it's going to take a lot to make them bite at quarterback at first round, because they're like they have a high bar for what they're looking for. And I wonder if the same thing is true with Pittsburgh, where it's like, hey, are they going to be willing to compromise on that bar? And there's a lot of debate to be had on whether you should compromise on where your bar is at quarterback in the first round. I'm not necessarily on the side that you should do it, but that's the whole thing, is like, unless you're sure your team's going to be like in the top 5 and there's like going to be 3 guys there, like drafting a quarterback in the first round is probably not a guarantee for anybody, because like it could be, you know, Garrett Nussmeier, they have a 3rd round grade on him and that's the guy that's available at pick 25, and it's like, are they going to do that? You know, are they going to risk overdrafting somebody like that? Like, I think that's the thing with Pittsburgh, is like what their commitment level is going to be. Maybe Will Howard pops up, he could be good enough to start for them and it ends up not being a problem. But I think my overall issue is like that team's aging. Aaron Rodgers is going to be like early 40s at this point.
Sure.
There's no guarantee that fall off is graceful, right? Like I've made the same point with Joe Flacco, where it's like, hey man, he might wake up and it's fucking gone, right? Like that just happens to guys in their 40s.
I'll lay out what I think will happen, and then I'll give my quick thoughts on the whole perception about the Steelers and Rodgers. I think what's going to happen, they're at minimum, they'll do the exact same thing they just did. Go 10-7, get to the wild card, lose. Maximum, maybe they end the drought. Aaron Rodgers has a nice year. They win a playoff game and then get eliminated in the divisional round. They draft a guy, all but guaranteed they move up to do it, and play Mason Rudolph for X amount of games so they don't have to throw that quarterback in right away. And if they want to completely redshirt him, fine, whatever. If they do it for, you know, a quarter of the season, half the season, and then play the rookie, whatever, that's fine. And then they go from there. In terms of the perception, though, about Rodgers, though, I do want to say this, because every day almost I'm seeing somebody in like the big national media, like, all due respect to him, I love Rich Eisen. Great. He's one of the best of us. Love Rich Eisen. If I hear him say one more time, these are the Steelers, they don't do this. Rich, what if the Steelers won in the last decade that makes you clutch your pearls so much? You'd be like, why would the Steelers do this? Dude, they stink. The Jacksonville Jaguars have won a playoff game more recently than the Steelers. The Browns won a playoff game more recently than the Steelers in Pittsburgh, while COVID riddled all over the roster and on the coaching staff. The Washington Redskins became the Washington football team and then the Washington Commanders in the span since the Steelers' last playoff win, and brought in Dan Quinn, who lost a Super Bowl, got fired by the Falcons, spent 3 years with the Cowboys, got hired by the Commanders, and then led them to the NFC Championship game, all in the span of the last time they won a playoff game.
DC, the last time you guys won a playoff game?
What's that?
Was RG3 in DC still?
I don't think so. No, it was 2017. So he had long been gone.
Okay, yeah, he was on the Browns that year. That was his death season.
Yeah.
That was
so my point being that everybody talks like in this situation, like the Steelers are like some high and mighty organization. Right now, they're not, man. They're an iconic franchise. Don't get me wrong. Like, but there's a difference between being iconic and still being good. Right now, they're not good. And I'm just so tired of the notion that, the Steelers are better than Aaron Rodgers. No, they're not. Right now, they're not. And I'm just very sick and tired of everybody treating Pittsburgh like they're this high and mighty, like highbrow. Or right now, they're mediocre, man. And mediocre teams do mediocre things. I'm perfect. Like, I've been on record plenty of times saying I want it to be Aaron Rodgers. I look forward to it being Aaron Rodgers. Let's see what he can do. I'll talk myself into him having like a Favre Vikings year. That's fine. But everybody acting like the Steelers are this like, oh man, the Steelers would never stop it.
I agree with that. I don't think the idea that the Steelers are too good to be waiting around on Rodgers. I'm like, what else are they going to do? Trade for Kirk Cousins? That would probably be a worse situation. Like, honestly, at that point, if Rodgers does decide to retire, I'm like, just play Mason Rudolph and see what happens. Right? Just roll it out there, right? Because what are you actually preserving? But yeah, I mean, like, I don't think it's great that, like, and I think what the national people are trying to hit on is like, maybe it's a bigger question of, instead of framing it about the Steelers, it's like, hey man, is Aaron Rodgers even worth this anymore? Like, is he somebody who's going to make your team better? Because you can make the argument that, like, he hasn't made a football team better since he won that last MVP in
since like 2020.
Yeah, he went under 500 his last year in Green Bay. Obviously missed 2023, and then 2024 they lose 2 more games than they did the year prior. And I'm like, is Aaron Rodgers still functional at the quarterback position? Yeah, I think he's still functional, but is he somebody who's going to improve your team anymore? The numbers point, everything points to that not being the case anymore. And, like you saw Green Bay Green Bay, since he's been gone, has been a much better football team. Obviously, Jordan Love's emergence.
Yeah, Jordan Love rules.
Yeah. But it's like, it's a real question of like, hey, like, yeah, Aaron Rodgers can play quarterback for you, but like, is he going to actually make you better? And should you count on him making the Steelers better? Because it's been a long time since he's been that, and he's only getting older.
Okay. With that in mind, this is one of the reasons why we're leaving the quarter. We usually start every year with a quarterback show, but we're trying to wait for Mr. Aaron Rodgers here so we can have the right assessment for
Aaron Rodgers is fucking up everything right now. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to sign. Is he going to do like the vet D tackle move and like sign right before camp?
That'd be funny? I mean, I think part of it. I do think part of it is like, whatever he's got going on in his personal life. He said he's got multiple people close to him dealing with cancer and whatnot, and nothing but the best to him for that. But I do also think, and again, pure speculation, that there's a small part of it, at least, it's like, I don't want to do OTAs. I don't want to do any sort of like thing that I don't have to do. I've been in the league for 20 years. I don't need any of that, whatever.
So when training camp comes, that's where you think he's going to...
I don't think it'll go all the way to training camp. Like, it'll be between now and I would hope.
It'd be the break.
Well, June. I mean, if not...
this mandatory camp. So you think he misses mandatory camp?
We'll see. That's the next big deadline that everybody's looking at. Is all right. Is he going to be there for mandatory camp? Because if not,
mid-June.
I do think
mid-June,
for
like June 11th or something,
joining a new team,
he should be there. I agree.
Some of this stuff is important, right?
I agree. 100% agree.
Yeah, like that's the only thing. Like, if he was a defense tackle, I would have given a fuck by 80 this shit.
Sure.
Like,
there's definitely levels to if you're a new quarterback or a quarterback on a new team, you should be at as much stuff as humanly possible. I completely agree with that.
And the other dynamic that's at play here, right? And we saw this happen with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson to an extent, which is when you aren't there, these guys in the locker room have to believe in something, right? And look, it might be silly to look at from the outside looking in, but when you're in one of them locker rooms and Mason Rudolph is the only one there, there's going to be a section of guys in that locker room like, nah, that's my guy.
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph is my guy, and then there's like needless friction here that would have never existed if just Aaron Rodgers were there from the beginning. Right?
Roman Wilson called Mason Rudolph elite the other day, so that was exciting.
No, I'm watching this shit happen with Joe Flacco, where people like, man, Joe just put it right where it needs to. I'm like, ooh, we are desperate.
That's another thing about this time of year too, man, where like somebody will post a clip of these guys throwing against nobody while not wearing pads. They're in shorts. And I got to watch a clip of Will Howard throwing a 10-yard dig, and
it was pretty.
Howardsburg on Twitter would be like, the future. Shut the stop.
Wait, there's a Howardburg?
I'm sure there is.
But yeah, I don't think people watch these OTAs and they just don't understand how accurate anybody who's in the NFL will look.
You know how hard it is to look bad in an OTA?
It's pass fail, right? You're just not supposed to. It's like that introductory course in college. It's like you're just not supposed to fail it, man.
Yeah.
You can't get an A+.
If you show up, you'll get a C.
Yeah. If you're looking bad in OTAs and all
that's what it is. Just did you show up?
Yeah.
All right. You signed a piece of paper.
It's homeroom. Yeah.
It's literally homeroom.
Yeah.
And people are trying to. That's the crazy thing going on in Cleveland. People are grading these OTA practices now.
Yeah, we're getting what OTA stats put out by some people. Like, boy, good Lord,
we are losing the recipes.
Okay. Well, with that in mind, let's go here ranking that. And by the way, when we're ranking this, y'all know we're not ranking a player, right? We're not ranking Myles Garrett or T. Well, we're ranking that room of edge rushers, right? In totality. Okay. So
what do we do with Trey Henderson?
We're gonna assume that he's in the. Trey Henderson is a funny.
We got to
thing.
set that ground rule before we.
Yeah, we're gonna assume that he's there. You can say the same thing with Shamar.
That he's there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just gonna assume Trey Henderson is there.
I think so. I think that's probably.
We can make any kind of assertion on what this has had on the impact of his quality of play, but he will be there in Cincinnati.
Exactly. Okay. So for example, for me, I'll start. For me, number 4 is actually the Bengals. Multiple things after Trey Henderson, which I like. I take all rookies always as a C player, even a first round pick, because I don't know. I've seen plenty of rookies fail, right? And this is for the Ravens or whoever. Plus Shamar, I didn't love Shamar. You all know this pre-draft. I didn't love Shamar.
Yeah.
The thing with Henderson is, I love Henderson. Love him for a couple of years now. But after him, everything else is a lot of big question marks, right? There's no vet. Well, I guess there's a vet on the kid from Clemson, Murphy, but he hasn't done anything in the past 2 years. Hubbard retired. So what is the Bengals? And then if Trey doesn't get a new deal, which I think he is, and he won't get a deal, right? I think he is in the Bengals and he won't get a deal. I don't know the level of. I can see Henderson saying, you know what, I have a sore back. I'm just sore, right? Because if he doesn't feel like he's going to get paid, he might be looking to get paid the following year.
He's going to go 05 Shaq on him.
I think he is, because he feels very disrespected, right? All he has heard is, they told me, come back, do it again, and you will get paid. That's what he's saying. I can only say what he's saying. He said that the team told him, if you do it again, you'll be rewarded. And whatever's out there, he doesn't feel like that whatever the team is offering him, because there's an offer apparently on the table, is not being whatever he thinks is comparable what he's deserving. So I think it's going to get ugly. I think it's going to be... By the way,
Trey, if you want to get traded from the Cincinnati organization, there is nothing Mike Brown hates more than paying for people who aren't on the field. Like, nothing Mike Brown hates more than that.
Just pull a Carson Palmer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
it got to move.
It did.
I think, with that said, I think the Bengals are the 4th team. And even if Trey is there playing like last year, we also, in my opinion, they're an injury away from Trey to having nothing, right? And without Trey last year, they really didn't have a pass rush. So I have the Bengals at 4th.
Ooh. This is interesting. Who do I put 4th?
This is the first year, by the way, that I don't rank the Ravens at 4.
Yeah, like I'm having a debate on who should be 4th, because like the Bengals obviously have like the superstar guy who just led the NFL in sacks, but outside of that, it's kind of a question mark.
Not just a question mark. It's doo-doo.
It's
It's not good.
Man, like it's
Not
like at
good.
least for Baltimore, they got like a lot of like C
Yeah, I mean, you got Owe, you drafted Mike Green, Van Noy got to the quarterback a lot last year. So
really, you got like rotational guys there. With Cincinnati, it's like you got one guy who's at the top of the league, and then it's like, all right, is it Joseph Osai? And
So you know what? For that reason, I think I'll also put the Bengals there, just because there is one guy. And that is it. You got a very top-heavy room.
He doesn't want to be there,
and there's a chance that he just wants out. So,
yes,
that's the big problem that Cincinnati has, right? Like if this were a normal year and he had gotten his money, and like, oh yeah, you got Shamar Stewart coming in, but it seems like both the dudes they relying on don't even want to be there, dog.
Shamar doesn't want to sign apparently.
Like, you got beef with your two best edge players, and like. Trey's getting older. Like this whole conversation about Trey Henderson, should he get paid, should he not, has distracted from the fact that like, okay, well, how many more years of this peak do you have that Cincinnati can rely on getting defensively? Yeah. And like, that's a serious question to ask, right? We're asking this question about every other edge rusher his age. You got to ask it about Trey. Just we haven't had room for that conversation. And then Shamar Stewart, who I think will be a good player, give it a year or two, is probably going to be a bit more of a transition, right? So, I mean, like, I just don't know how I put them below Baltimore when I know Baltimore is going to have more sacks than them. They're going to be game time more effective than them. And like, yeah, does Baltimore have any name value to bring to the conversation? No. They're like, Calvin Noy's like the most, high value name guy they got right there.
He's older.
Yeah, and it's Calvin Noy too. Nobody said like this. Even at Calvin Noy's best, we were like, man, you got to watch out for that team. They got Calvin Noy coming off the edge. Like he's a good player, but he's never been that guy. But man, I trust that pass rush way more than I trust whatever's going on in Cincinnati right now.
Plus, we didn't even bring up Nnamdi Madubuike, so like that's
he's for the interior.
Yeah. I mean, still like he pass rushing guy though, who can still.
I got you.
Yeah.
Like I think you're gonna feel the Ravens' edge room more than you feel everybody in that edge room in Cincinnati, other than Trey Henderson.
I agree.
And what is Joseph Osai, Shamar Stewart, Cam Sample, and Isaiah Thomas on their depth chart right now?
I feel like Cam Sample has been a backup for the Bengals for like 13 years.
I thought Cam Sample played tight end because
that was Drew. That was Drew Sample. That was Drew.
I'm like,
maybe they're related. I don't know.
It's that bad. They just try shit. And they got Trey Henderson, Miles Murphy, Cedric Johnson, and Raven Johnson. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like 3 or 4 of these guys could be in the UFL next year.
Yeah,
tearing it up for the Birmingham Stallions. It's not good. This is really bad. If Trey Henderson plays well, then maybe this ages poorly. But boy, are you banking on a lot on Trey Henderson when he really just he's been sick of this for 2 years. Yeah. And maybe that first year was easy to say, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna make them pay me what I'm worth. But after you have that season and they still go, you're not getting that money. Yeah. I feel like that breaks me. Like, I don't know about you there. If you were writing for whatever company that you choose to write for, right? Let's say you wrote for ESPN, right? You wanted an extension. And they were like, you got to get this many impressions for us to even consider it, right? And then you cleared that impression number. You destroyed it, right?
And then they give an extra $20 million to Stephen A. and tell me to kick rocks. Yeah, I'd be kind of sad.
No.
I'd be pretty angry.
$20 million to Acho, and then that's what's happening. Like they ain't even the main dude they gave the money to, right? It's not Joe. It's not Jabbar. They get shit to T, right? Like you just as valuable as T, right? Like it's like so it's like you don't get that money, and then they're also like, we're not gonna send you anywhere where you can get that money. You're gonna probably spend that next year. Last year of Grantland, Bill Simmons lazy.
This is why I think the best scenario, I said this last week, best scenario that I can see that both sides are not happy, but probably can just go buy it, is if Trey gets a increase of, I don't know, in the 35-ish, so 14 mil more this year. But just a 1-year deal, and then the clause is you cannot tag him. Right?
I would also bet money I would bet money that the Bengals are one of those teams trying to get like the salary cap stuff changed, where cash poor or cash rich owners can't like do all of like the rollover years and whatnot to try to like basically like
Avoid
get
years.
some cap numbers while you're still paying them. I would bet money Mike Brown was pounding on Goodell's office and be like, fix this shit.
He's like, it's unfair that these billionaires get to like spend their money, right?
Yeah.
Like to make the team better. I'm like,
You got Mr. Walmart over there in Denver. I got to fly Spirit. And I'm like, all right, Mike, calm down.
Like, Mike, you choose to shop at JC Penney's and you still be cheap about it. Like the whole thing about being cheap is so you can splurge on other parts of your life, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the whole thing about it. What do the Bengals splurge on? Like that's the crazy part about it. They acting like they got to do all of this to keep the lights on, and I just find that thought process to be ridiculous from the Cincinnati Bengals. You know how liquid they could be because he has loans, he has access to because he owns the Cincinnati Bengals,
right?
Yeah.
Like the excuses that they give out about why they can't do this is just like, yeah, man, they're worth like $3 billion. They could do whatever they wanted to.
Right.
Yeah. Like they really could. They don't have to sell the team to access it. Like you got an asset worth $3 billion in America. You can get whatever you want from the bank. You can rob the bank legally. Like you can do whatever you want and you get whatever interest rate you want. Probably no interest rate. So like, yeah, the Bengals really have no excuse for being as cheap as they are. I am
going to put the Ravens at 3 though, just because like they don't have that superstar name that the other two do. So I'll put them at 3, but like it's a good 3.
Yeah, I agree. For me, the Ravens are 3. Calvin Noy, look, is
Calvin Noy technically a edge now?
He plays purely outside linebacker for us.
Okay. All right.
But there's a point that his age is gonna cut up. I love Noy, but I mean, he's not getting younger. I do feel Owe will have even a bigger. Last year, he touched 10 sacks, but he's in a contract year this year. I don't think the Ravens pay him. I don't think the Ravens pay him before the season starts.
But Owe be getting the quietest sacks you've ever seen.
I agree.
He got looking down. You're like, where the fuck was he at all year?
It was in week 17 when he got that 10th.
Like, what does he do? Just like sack the Browns 6 times a year?
But I do think usually players play better in contracts year. So I can definitely see Owe playing a little bit better than last year. And then same thing that I said for Shamar. Mike Green, I like Mike Green a little better than Shamar coming out of the draft. I didn't like him for a first round pick, but I did like him better. I rate him like a C player. He's there to learn. If I can get there, if Mike Green can give me 4 or 5 sacks this year, I'll be ecstatic. Like as a third pass rusher. Ojabo, I think he is on the being cut. I think he could potentially being cut.
Mike Green is directly to replace him, right?
Yes.
I feel like Mike Green's going to give you more than that. Like he's going to be. He'll have a solid rookie year.
I'm hoping, but anyway, so. It's crazy.
Odafe Owe, by the way, screams future New Orleans Saint. I don't know why that's the team, but like I could just see them giving a bag to a guy who's just like solid, and it's like whatever, we'll give him whatever.
Fun story, Jared. I took one look at Odafe Owe at the Senior Bowl, and I told Sonny, that guy's going to play for the Ravens. You're going to hate him.
I hated it because...
So he was like, what? No way. And I'm like, yeah, that definitely like fast. They love these super athletic, twitchy, thin edges. And I'm like, because who did they draft right before that? That was like in the same like genre as Odafe Owe. Because I think there was somebody else they took.
Pre-Owe edge rusher.
The Ravens pre-Owe didn't have a lot of edge rushers that they were
before
drafting.
Owe. Well, I think Tyus Bowser's a bit of a different. That's
but they,
the whole.
But they did the same thing with the receiver, right? They did it for Perriman. That he ran the sub 20 super fast, and I'm like, but what is this guy? No, he's super fast. We need to draft him first round. And to be fair to Perriman, he actually had a better career than I thought he had because he bounced around, but he was in the league for a while.
No, the amount of like Patrick Oniswar copies that you guys have had on this roster, like these peanut copies that you guys have had, is like it cracks me up. Every year you find a new one. It's like, okay, Pat Queen is like the LeBron James of Patrick Oniswar guys, and then you bring in like Trenton Simpson, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's Peanut all over again. Like the same complaint you had about Peanut, you're gonna have about this guy. You need to put a vet next to him. Like it's the same shit. It's the same exact thing.
I'll say the same thing for anyway. So I will have the Ravens third here. Yes, I think they are solid. Can Mike Green take that step for next year? Maybe, but I think for this year, they're not the room is not as good as the other two. By the way, at the end of our picks, then I'll put Aces all 4 picks. Q,
Boy, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think what Calvin Noy, we got Odafe, Mike Green. That's a
Davis
solid
Robinson.
3.
I like.
Yeah, that's a solid 3 round, right? You like what? Who? Tavis Robinson or?
But I think Tavia Robinson is better from the inside, and they used it in that 3DN.
By the way, David Ojabo is another prime example of the fact that whenever you get one of these guys who fall into the second round and you're like, oh, we got an extra first round pick, you need to stop believing that shit, right? I don't know what's up with Will Johnson, but I would be very curious about what that's going to be because
Will Johnson,
these Michigan dudes, right? These Michigan dudes fall out the top 5. It's trouble. It's always
remember
trouble.
Ojabo got to the second round because he got hurt. Same thing that Will Johnson. He got hurt. And he has he will flash. Like he will have a couple of rushes.
I don't even think he wanted to miss the whole year with Will Johnson, right? Like it wasn't one of those situations where, like with Ojabo, he got injured. He had to miss a year or most of the year, right?
Ojabo. The thing was in the not the Pro Bowl. What is it? No.
Oh no, it was a pro day.
Pro day, exactly. Yeah, and then he came back like the last week of the year. Just so he can check, and he sacked Burrow, strip sack Burrow, and we're like, "Oh my god, next year!" But he gets hurt every year. He gets hurt every single year. He gets hurt. So
so I think 3 and 4 pretty easy this year.
Now the question here is, who is 2, right? And it's a question every year. I think the Ravens is the first year they're not 4th for us in the show. This is for me was a tough one.
I gotta tell you, brother, like, and not even just being biased, I don't think it's much of a competition who's 2 as a whole unit. I think that right now, I think Miles is the best edge rusher in the NFL. TJ had a bad second after the year, had the fewest sacks in like a full season or anything close to a full season since his rookie year. So you know, if Steelers fans are like myself are going to bang on Miles for, you know, not having a sack after Thanksgiving in 2023, got to bang on TJ for not showing up in the second half in a lot of ways too. So he's got a lot to prove this coming year. And I know he wants paid. I've said many times, and I think a lot of Steelers fans are actually in agreement with this, which is actually surprising. But like, why would you give 31, soon to be 32-year-old TJ Watt a $40 million per year deal right now when his best days are behind him? I would trade him personally. Love TJ, but I think it's probably time to do that. Send him back to Wisconsin, send him to Green Bay, give him another player. But as a whole, as the room, I do think the Steelers are better than Cleveland because outside of Miles, it's, I don't know who is it? Is Isaiah McGuire the other one on the opposite side of Q?
Top 5 run defender according to Pro Football Focus.
Yeah. Like he's not a scrub by any means. Like I'm not trying to like dump on Isaiah McGuire too much, but like Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig, I think, are better than any of the 2-3 guys that the Browns have.
Yeah, the Browns are kind of like a supercharged Ravens situation where I think a lot of their pass rush is going to come from their interior, right? Outside of Myles Garrett, where like, that's where they're really focusing the power. Because I think what the Browns have noticed is when they try to have these 2 bookend edges, what ends up happening is that they just ignore all of that shit and just run towards whoever's not Myles Garrett. Right. Like, it's like, oh, it just ends up not mattering, right? Yeah. So you just gotta go for a wider area of coverage than just like getting another big edge guy there. So yeah, I think the Browns room, it's very Myles Garrett reliant, right? Like the question is like, how much do you value Myles Garrett over the overall depth of what Pittsburgh has? Like how much at this point of each of their careers better is Myles than TJ, and how much more value does that bring to your edge room? It would be I would think a little bit of a reach because like what the Steelers have 4 edges that I think are going to end up being very playable, right? Depending on how you feel about Jack Sawyer, right? But Nick Herbig, very playable player, right? I think he's really good. TJ Watt, and then you have Alex Highsmith, who like, it's weird with Alex because he wasn't as good as people wanted him to be after signing that contract, but he's still not bad.
He's a better run defender than he is a pass rusher, in my opinion. I think PFF ranked him as like the 13th best pass rusher in the NFL. And even I was like, that still feels high. I am much lower on Alex Highsmith than most Steelers fans are, is what I've noticed. And like personally, Like next year, you can, if you wanted to move him, it would cost you next to nothing. So I think that if I'm guessing, maybe they move him next offseason, make Herbig the number 2, make Jack Sawyer the number 3, and then sign a vet to be, the rotational 4 guy. But like I don't dislike Highsmith, but I don't think he's worth the money that they're.
Why did y'all draft Yaya Black too? That's gonna come up in the defensive tackle room.
Larry Ogunjobi replacement.
The Yaya Black to replace Larry.
It's another body. Because they brought back Isaiah Loudermilk too. They still have Dean Lowry. They signed Daniel Ekawale from New England and somebody else from Jacksonville. I think it was Azizi. I can't pronounce his last name. So they have a lot of bodies there.
Yeah, I'm just wondering in the interior, like, was that like some kind of worry about Keanu Benton or? I don't think
it was a worry about Benton. I think that they just needed another body to fill like the Ogunjobi role. Now Larry got like starting,
so that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be the starters will be Derek Harmon, Keanu Benton, Cam Hayward, and then they'll rotate Yaya Black in as like purely like a run guy on a certain number of snaps. But
who was the dude y'all used to have there wore 19?
19.
Yes, he wasn't very good. He was known for getting in a fight on the sideline.
I don't remember.
Like 2020. It was 2020.
I don't know. 91 was Stephon Tuitt.
No. I think it was a former Alabama guy.
Okay, it's starting to ring a bell. I don't remember a guy wearing 19 though.
19.
Yeah, he was like a D tackle, and he wore 19. He barely played. And I'm like, he is only on the team.
I'm thinking of names, but like I don't remember a 19. It was Isaiah Buggs.
Yeah. That's Yaya Black right there. Okay. I'm like, that was all he was at the Senior Bowl, which was like, I'm just gonna fight. Like,
by the way, Isaiah Buggs, notable prick. Isaiah Buggs, not a good guy. Not a good guy.
Yeah. I think Mike Tomlin likes to keep a guy in there that's going to keep camp interesting. And honestly, like, because Mike Tomlin loves to break up a fight and give the fucking speech, right? So he sets up these like traps every year because he knows he's going to be able to give the speech because this guy's going to start fight. And Yaya Black started like 5 fights at the Senior Bowl, like unprovoked, just fought all Senior Bowl. And I'm like, yeah, that's classic Mike Tomlin, setting up his like speeches so he can give like his little Avenger speech at the end of camp or whatever he likes to do.
Yeah, getting the team ready to lose to every good team, barely beat all the mediocre and bad teams, and then get their asses kicked.
How are we gonna fight them when we can't stop fighting us? Like, the Mike Tomlin of
just
it
some
all.
Bad Michael Bay script line.
So I will say this: I tend to agree with both of you. For me, when I was looking at the Browns and Steelers rooms here, the Steelers have depth. Now, we're talking about, I agree, Jared, in this show before, we always had like, who's better, Miles or TJ before last year, right? And I think I used to say that TJ and Ace used to say Miles, and I think it's because Miles who wrecked the Bengals game plan, and TJ was the one that wrecked the Ravens the most. Mm-hmm. But last year was concerning to me for TJ because like TJ, like backing up the year, he looked almost like an average rusher. Like was he in the field? You talk about Oweh, right? He felt like an Oweh guy.
What game was it where I think like somebody just ran read option on him and TJ just kept taking the bait every play? Was
Baltimore? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
I don't know what that was. I don't know if that was part of the game plan or just go after Lamar every time, no matter what. I don't know. But it wasn't
I would hope it's the game plan. If it's not the game plan and TJ's like, this is the only way I'm going to get somebody, then that's concerning.
Right? And that's my point. Now,
but I think it was probably the game plan.
I think it was probably the game plan too. Like TJ's a smarter player than that. So I would assume it was the game plan.
But if I go back and think that TJ is now, instead of an A+ like Miles, let's say he is A- B+. The thing is,
have him above Trey still? For both of you guys? Because you guys have been on the TJ train more than me.
I mean, like if I had to bank on who's going to have the better year this year, like I would, it might be a little bit biased, but I would bank on TJ having a nice year bouncing
because
back.
he has a better cast around him. Yes.
But I'm saying, like, individually, if you had to choose in the draft, right, you're redrafting.
I'll take.
You have the same players. TJ Watt's on the board. Trey Henderson's on the board. Who are you taking?
I would still probably take TJ.
Okay.
I'll take
I
Trey
think
right
it's
now.
Trey.
If it was year one of both of them, TJ.
How old's Trey? Is Trey younger?
Trey's got to be 30.
Trey's
He's been a
30.
good
Yeah,
good
I feel
amount of
like
time
this
in New
draft class
Orleans.
was low-key incredible at edge.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Let me see how old Trey Henderson is. Just
I think
to
he's
have
30.
it.
And TJ's what, 30?
31, I believe, is how
so
old
he was
TJ is.
2017 too.
Yeah. So Trey is 30. He'll be 31 in December. TJ will turn 32 in October. Let me see how old he is right now.
So,
Dude,
but
outside of Myles Garrett, every edge that people thought would hit in 2017
TJ will be
did not.
31 in October. So they're both 30, turning 31.
yeah. So, and for the Browns, I
What an
I
incredible
like double.
class.
I thought double O was gonna be better. I think he just sparks here and there, right? Anyway,
Yeah, he's kind of our Tyus Bowser.
Oh, Ty Bowser. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, he might do something this year. He's gonna get like 3.5 sacks.
But in the case of the Steelers, right, then you have Highsmith, which I consider him like a B minus type of player, and then Herbig, I think it's ascending to take Highsmith, and we'll see
I
Sawyer.
think Herbig is better than Alex Highsmith. I will continue to die on that hill.
but either way, like if you think, let's say you think they're the same, grade wise, right? And you have Sawyer that is a building block for the future. You definitely have the better depth in that room. The Steelers can say one of those guys being hurt. Let's say everybody's number one goes down. Miles goes down. I'm not wishing this, but Miles, Van Noy,
come on,
TJ.
hey.
No, I'm just saying everybody's like literally Van Noy, TJ, Miles, and Trey. The team that is best positioned to sustain that is the Steelers.
Yeah, and I think for the edge room, depth matters more than it does for like quarterback, right? Where if we did this exercise with quarterback, it'd be ridiculous, right? Like it's about what you are.
Yeah. I'm not gonna be like, well, if you look at Mason Rudolph and Will Howard, no, it's who the starter is for sure.
The sum of the parts matter more than just like the one player, right? But if you guys want to have a fun diversion here, real quick, these are edge rushers that were graded as much higher coming out in 2017 than both Trey Henderson and TJ Watt.
This will be exciting.
Derek Barnett, y'all remember him?
Oh my God!
From
remember
Tennessee?
we were talking about Derek Barnett over Miles? That was like a hot take. That was like a film guy take back then, right? Like, oh,
he got drafted by what? Philadelphia?
He went to Philly.
Yeah. He's a solid role player.
Yeah, he's fine.
Solomon Thomas, who by the way,
Solomon Thomas,
my God.
bust.
He's still in the league.
Trubisky being taken number 2 overall really saved the 49ers from scrutiny on that pick.
For sure.
Awful pick there. Carl Lawson.
Carl Lawson was 2017.
Yeah. His career's pretty much over now.
I thought that Carl Lawson was much older.
Yeah, because his career just went.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Jordan Willis.
I
don't even know who the
This
hell
is
that is.
you would not recognize was in that class. Hassan Reddick.
Okay.
He was in that
That's
class.
career.
17. Yeah, right.
Nice.
I feels way older. Hassan Reddick. Tim Williams.
Tim Williams. Oh, from Bama?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think didn't the Ravens got him?
This is a blast from the past. Taco Charlton.
Oh my
I remember
goodness.
that.
Never
Hype.
draft the Michigan player that falls out the top 10.
I remember Taco.
If I'm not mistaken, this was the same draft class. Who the hell was that Florida corner that I really liked? He had a fun name.
Was it Tease Tabor?
Tease Tabor, yes.
Yeah, he's in the USFL too.
That's great.
Yeah. Charles Harris out of Missouri. I don't know who that guy is.
I don't know either.
I could have sworn he played in like 2008.
Then you get TJ Watt at 10 in that draft class, according to Pro Football Focus. Then you have Joe Mathis out of Washington. Pack McKinley, who did go way before TJ Watt did.
Yeah.
DeMarcus Walker out of Florida State. And then you finally get to Trey Henderson, number 14.
Crazy.
Florida Atlantic. Yes.
The crazy thing is, I remember that draft because I wanted the Ravens to get TJ. And who
By the way,
we ended up with?
Greatest player I've ever seen play for Youngstown State. Derek Rivers was also in that draft. I thought he was going to be so much better than he was. Still a 10-year vet. Yeah, I thought he was going to be FCS Myles Garrett. It did not happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we got Marlon. That's right. We got Marlon. And I remember being mad. I was like, I wanted TJ. Why are we getting this guy?
Marlon Humphrey's been in the league since 2017.
Yeah.
Goodness.
I
Yeah,
think
it's crazy to think about. But that, like, I think the reason we're like, oh my God, this guy was 27, because we remember covering the 2017
Yeah, I was
draft.
gonna say, like, that
But,
was, you know,
yeah, those guys are old now. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Dude, but
Marlo's
Marlo's 28.
David Njoku is somebody they used to watch in high school, and I was like, what?
Crazy.
How young
Yeah.
was Marlon Humphrey coming out of? He's 28. He's about to be 29, but he's still.
Yeah, he was
2021
probably,
he got drafted.
Them Alabama dudes are super young. They don't let you stay extra.
Yeah.
I think Minka was super young when Miami drafted him too.
Yeah, man, it's graduating 3 program over there in Alabama. Have you ever seen Alabama play a redshirt senior?
Yeah, that's what I was. It's like Duke basketball. Like, there's not a hell of a lot of superstar seniors when it comes to that.
No, it's like Kentucky when Calipari was there.
Yeah, that's a better example. Yeah,
it's like, hey, bro, you a junior? You old? Like, are you here for academic purposes or what? Like,
let's put Ace's take. That way we can see what Ace had for the ranking. You have to play here.
they had.
Welcome, guys. It's Ace here. Sorry I couldn't be there for the show, but I'm here to talk about the edge rankings. And this is going to be an interesting show. I'm mad that I had to miss it because it's very close. I think it's razor thin between all of these teams in the AFC North. I think that you could make a case for any of these teams being number one. Each team, I think, has deficiencies. Each team has positives and weaknesses. And each team could take that crown. I am going to start off here. All right. Now, look, I'm looking at this, and I think that this team, even though they have a lot of question marks surrounding them, they could end up the first team in the division. They could potentially first or second. I think they could end up top 2. But with all of the uncertainty as we stand here on May 30th, it's hard for me to put the Bengals higher than fourth as it stands right now. And I know what Houday Nation is probably thinking. Ace, how could you? Trey Henderson, leading sack getter in the NFL. And I understand that. For me, with the Bengals, with us not knowing whether or not Trey Henderson is going to be on the roster, in good faith right now, I cannot put the Bengals in the top 2. I think that they have the potential. And the reason why, I think the Bengals may actually have the deepest room of all teams. You talk about Joseph Ossai. You talk about them having Miles Murphy, a first-round draft pick from 2023. They just went and got Shamar Stewart. They have Cam Sample. They have Cedric Johnson, who some people may be saying, who is that? But we all know Cedric Johnson was pretty solid. I think when you talk about the 6 edge rushers that the Bengals have, I don't think that anybody else in this division has 6 edge rushers that they can say on paper as it stands right now within the division is the deepest room. So you have that. However, I also mentioned you have question marks. You don't know.
You want to react to that?
I think that is. Me and Q kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. When there's a lot of uncertainty on that Bengals defensive line, like I don't know. I think that's a little good.
There are, and look, Bengal fans gonna get mad at me for saying this, but this is what it is because every fan base does this. There are a lot of local legends on that Bengals defensive edge roster where it's like, oh man, the league don't know about this guy, but he's been killing it in the third quarter of a preseason game or in training camp or maybe in really limited time that he's been out there, and people are projecting that to be much bigger and better. We've all done this with certain rooms. We're like, oh no, we're fine, and then you think about it 3 years later and you're like, no, we were really relying on Cedric Johnson to hold down the edge. That was kind of insane. That feels like where Cincinnati is right now. Where it's like, oh yeah, well, this guy here, that guy here, we're not as bad as everybody thinks. And I don't think the Bengals are going to be an awful edge room, especially if Trey Henderson plays. But man, I would take everybody else's pass rush over theirs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also it comes down to conversation. Does depth matter with edge? Yes. I don't care who your 6th and 5th guy is.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It's really your top 3 I care about.
The guy who's playing gunner on special teams, I'm not going to attribute that to your cornerback room either. It's at some point, it's just, the
guy you let blitz when your nickel's tired. I don't care about that guy.
Okay, let me keep going.
About the Trey Hendrickson situation. You don't know what Shamar Stewart is going to be. He's currently still holding out camp as it stands right now. You haven't seen what you wanted from.
Pause it. Ace cannot play that one. No, Ace, I can't let you get away with that one. You can't say we don't know what Shamar Stewart going to be. I there having to talk you off a ledge for 2 months about Shamar Stewart. What do you mean? I know what you think he about to be.
Fair.
From Miles Murphy. Now that Sam Hubbard is out of the way, maybe you see that, but that's a huge gamble. And then I think when you look at it overall, Cam Sample, you know what you get from him. He's a good veteran. Joseph Ossai's coming back on a 1-year deal. I think that he can do something. But this also was a team that finished with 33 sacks last year. So because of that, it's a lot of hoping and wishing and maybes right now. And so because of the circumstances and how things are right now, May 30th, I have to put my Bengals third as it stands right now. But with the caveat that if Trey Henderson is there, if Joseph Ossai is there, Shamar Stewart plays well, Miles Murphy plays well, if Al Golden is able to turn this defense around, because it is going to be somewhat different. Like defensive linemen now are going to be able to call their own pass rush audibles and stuff like that at the line instead of the linebackers calling it for them. So that could be a difference maker. But as it stands right now, I have to go with the Bengals at 4. Now, third. This one was tough, man, because I think we look around, like I said, there are some teams with depth. There are some teams with really good players lacking depth. And that's why, for me, number 3, it's not indicative of the player that they have, but it's the depth within the room. And I'm going to put the Cleveland Browns here. I know a lot of people are going to be shocked. Myles Garrett is amazing. However, when you look at the supporting cast and the rest of the room, Isaiah McGuire, Alex Wright, they've got Shayankia, I don't know who that is.
Tryon Shayankia, I forgot that they got him.
I do know something about him slightly. Okwara. For me, this team took a step back in terms of the depth around Myles Garrett at the edge rush position. I think obviously Myles Garrett can get you 15 to 16, 17 plus sacks by himself, but what can those other guys get you? And when I look at their room in comparison to the other 2 teams, I don't see a 1A pass rusher and you're not going to have nobody on Myles Garrett's level, but you don't have that Robin. You don't have that second player with him. And they had that last season, and they started to kind of get to a point where they realized, hey, Myles needs some help. Now they're back in the situation that they were similar to before without really having help at the edge rush position for Myles Garrett. I think they have it at the defensive tackle position. You talk about Mason Graham, you talk about Mike Hall, who did some things. So they're still going to be good from a defensive line perspective. However, when it comes to that edge room, I just don't see it in terms of the depth. If Myles Garrett, Myles has had games where he may have missed some here or there. I think if you don't have Myles Garrett in this situation, I don't know who you're depending on from the edge position from that standpoint. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and put Cleveland here 3. Now,
you want to pause there?
Yeah.
Next is where.
Go ahead.
My only thing with that, I think if you're going to put Cleveland at 3, you got to ask yourself, okay, would I rather have the Ravens' 3 best edge rushers or Myles Garrett?
I know what my answer is.
I would rather just have Myles.
Yeah.
I think Myles outweighs having great depth, right? And this is another one where it's we're closer to our team, so we're gonna have a higher opinion of certain guys around there, right? But yeah, I think Myles Garrett alone outweighs okay, we got Kyle Van Noy. Think about it like a trade. Would you trade Odafe Owe, Kyle Van Noy, and who else you want to throw in there, Sonny, as an edge rusher? What? Mike Green?
Yeah.
Mike Green? Yeah, would you trade those 3 for 1 Myles Garrett? You'd do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
You would do it in a heartbeat, and then you would make the video tomorrow. We're going to the Super Bowl. We just fleeced the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
So that's where I'm yeah, I get it. But if you don't have that 1A, which the Ravens don't, I don't know how you can rank them over somebody who has the best pass rusher in all football,
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think we're in a better spot, the Ravens are, than years before. Hence, we're not 4th in this ranking overall. But we don't have a top tier. People think Mike Green can be that one. Okay, maybe in a couple of years. We'll see. But he's not there now. So I agree with what you said, Q.
Where things are going to get really interesting for the top 2. Because I've been really critical of one of these teams that actually are in my top 2. So Ravens fans, I know you always say Ace ranks you guys last. You cannot say that now. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to tell you what my pick is. immediately, because I know that as Sunny is scrolling this, he's like, what is Ace thinking here? What is Ace thinking here?
Well, I'm thinking
And
that
for
now.
second, I'm actually going to go ahead and put the Baltimore Ravens here.
Okay.
Baltimore Ravens are going to be here. They've come a long way from us kind of going in on them about the edge rushers. But when you look at what they've been able to do with Kyle Van Noy, who's purifying himself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka. I don't know what they have in MNT, but they have a lot of these older guys still playing well. He's back. He's been able to bring a quality edge rusher there. Now, he's not Trey Hendrickson tier. He's not TJ Watt tier. He's not Myles Garrett tier. But he's a sneaky, I can get you about 10 to 12 sacks type of guy. And having that with Sonny's favorite guy, Odafe Owe, who is able to add some stability. I don't know if I'm buying it just for 1 year, but this is going to be possibly a contract year, I think, for him. So Odafe has to do something. But those two combined for at least 20-plus sacks last year. So because they have that 1A and that 1B, from that standpoint, in terms of the depth chart, they have that tandem. Then you talk about them bringing in a guy like Mike Green, which obviously I like to take rookies into account. We can't project rookies. Who's to say what Mike Green is going to be? But I do see Mike Green there, and I am enticed by what that may mean for that rotation from a three-man standpoint, maybe 2.5. Maybe it's just that Mike Green gives you 5 sacks, right? But if Mike Green is giving you 5 sacks with Odafe Owe and Kyle Van Noy being disruptive, that's pretty good. They also have Tavius Robinson. We'll see. Ajabo, I believe. I don't know if he's going to play or not, but that adds some depth there where you might have guys that can get 2 or 3 sacks here in a pinch if you need them. And that may be on the season. I'm not saying, Ajabo is going to be like this guy that goes crazy, but I think that the Ravens, from a pass rush standpoint, they have improved their edge room from the veteran aspect, as well as with getting some guys in the draft. And you've seen them do that with Mike Green. So I'm actually going to put the Ravens second here. Now, first, I honestly could put this team fourth. I'm going to be honest with you, because
is it cutting to you guys too, or is it just me?
Yeah, I'm wondering what's going on with that.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so Steelers could be fourth, what he just said.
We got him at 1?
He has that 1, but he said it could be a 4th team.
TJ Watt had a down year, but even in his down year, it was 11 sacks. Alex Highsmith, he had 6 sacks. I'm assuming, especially with TJ Watt going into this contract situation, I'm expecting that he can improve that from this perspective this season. I think he goes up a little bit this year. I think Alex Highsmith is better than the 6 sacks that he got last season. We'll see if he's able to do it. They add Jack Sawyer, who's basically Sam Hubbard 2.0 there from that perspective. So really, I really kind of went with what I think may be the strongest tandem. Now, I cannot definitively say that Odafe Owe and Kyle Van Noy is the best tandem, because I think the stock is somewhat volatile on Odafe Owe. With TJ Watt, I feel like I know what I'm getting. With Alex Highsmith, I feel like I know what I'm getting. And I think 6 sacks is a down year for Alex Highsmith. I think he can at least get to the 8 to 10 sack threshold. And
I'm going to stop it there since there's so much choppiness.
Yeah.
But essentially he said the Steelers could be 4th, but he has them first because
things would have to go horribly like rock bottom wrong for them to be 4th, I would say. Alex Highsmith was also injured last year too, so the 6 sacks. I don't know how many games he played in. I want to say he missed like 4 games potentially. I'd have to go back and look, but he missed some time last year.
That's where your boy was there. Your boy, by the way,
Herbig missed time last year too. So like they were a little bit banged up last year.
And Lord knows that defense going to have a lot of possessions on their hands. A lot of snaps.
Remember, Herbig was the one that went behind Derrick Henry, right, and created a fumble. Like, was it like opening that game against the Steelers and Ravens?
Yes, the Steelers home game, the first matchup between the two of them. Yeah,
the Steelers are interesting because like you just can't imagine the Steelers pass rush being booty. Like,
sure,
just putting the uniform on makes you feel like they'll be at least like 16th best pass rush in the league, right? Like even if they put regular dudes in those uniforms, you just be like, yeah, well I'm not used to seeing the Steelers just have a shitty pass rush. Have they ever had one in my life? Like
I don't know, like the mid 2010s,
'90s.
it was pretty bad in the mid 2010s.
Mid 2010s was that the end of James Harrison?
It was like end of James Harrison, Jarvis Jones, Bud Dupree pre TJ Watt.
Yeah.
So I mean, they had some years where they weren't.
Maybe it just didn't make a difference to me because like y'all would still get us.
Yeah.
They still had great like records and whatnot, but that was
remember the kid from Georgia coming out? I forgot.
That was Jarvis Jones.
Yeah, during this whole down period, you did have prime Cam Hayward.
I suppose, and you had the offense scoring, almost 30 points a game to kind of blanket that. But once you got to the postseason and New England's putting up 40 against your defense, you can't really do much.
Did you ever think 10 years ago you would be saying to yourself, man, it's been a long time since I thought to myself, we could go band for band with them, offensively speaking? Like, how many times have you been like, hey, man, if this is a race to 40, we got this?
That was the thing, man. Like, if the Killer Bees played in this era, I think that they would be better suited because, like, even in like the mid 2010s, like, yeah, you'd have like that season where Stafford, Manning, and Breeze all went for 5,000. But like in today's game, I think that they would be better suited rather than like 2016 to just go. We're like, all right, we're gonna outscore everybody. That's gonna be our mantra. And I think that if they were going up against like the 2019 Chiefs, where their defense was also bad, it could have just been like a 51-48 shootout. And I think they could have won that, but they just unfortunately kept running into Brady and Belichick, and that was always their undoing.
Yeah, Ben is always interesting to me because, like, on some ways, I'm like, he benefited from being in the era that he was in. But in other ways, I'm like, he probably didn't benefit. And it kind of surrounds the same thing, which is his mobility, because he was mobile back in the day because we just did not see.
Yeah, like 2004 to like 2007, 2008-ish, Ben could move around.
Yeah.
But even like Ben moving around at that time, it wasn't like Josh Allen moved, like Cam. And that was like before those dudes have entered the league and just completely changed what you thought a 6'5" quarterback could do. Right. Like it was like, oh, Vince Young did a little bit of this, but like look at what he's doing on a regular basis. It's crazy. Yeah. And it's like, I think in some ways Ben is like the prototype of what Josh Allen ended up becoming, which is like that fully realized. Still has some of the tendencies though, because like, Josh Allen will throw a Big Ben interception.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those are still he cut down on them drastically last year, but yeah, they're still there.
It will be one of those like, yeah, Ben just gonna throw that shit down there and see what happens.
That was the beauty of it. I miss it.
Well, I think that is the ranking. Overall, we have the Cincinnati 4-3 for the Ravens, 2 for the Browns, Steelers unanimous first and unanimous fourth for Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. We'll be back here next week, and then we'll get the interior of the defensive linemen, so we can finish with that trenches side.
My favorite.
I was gonna say, dude, how things have changed for the Cleveland Browns.
Look, it's funny because you used to be able to be a fat tackle and a fat edge rusher and nobody would care. But now, we've trimmed the fat from those. But this is the last bastion of fat that we have in the NFL. Man, we don't even let the running backs be a little chubby anymore. Like,
who's the last fat back? Is it Eddie Lacy?
Yeah, Eddie Lacy. And like Eddie Lacy, I don't even know if he counts because he got fat after he was good, right? Like what, Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's chubby, but he's not good. Like the last like truly fat back, I feel like
Drew Bettis was fat.
Maurice Jones-Drew?
MJD was chubby,
yeah, like Maurice Jones-Drew.
It's his Scatterboo. Scatterboo looks like he has some
Scatterboo,
LBs.
He's not fat. He's just he's jacked.
He looks like he has some LBs. Really, he's jacked. Maybe I never seen him without the.
Scatterboo's one of those, like he's a hard gainer, right? Like he's probably really strong. It just doesn't.
Scatterboo's got more Doug Martin than Maurice Jones-Drew body type.
Yeah, I'm talking about chubby. Like Jerome Bettis got the little roll.
Yeah, no, Jerome Bettis was like legit fat his final year. Yeah.
Like you punch him and it's a little soft and then it gets really tough. I was about to say something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have eliminated so much chubby out of our sports, and I don't think it's good. You know what's really cool to watch when you watch a basketball game?
Nikola Jokic's fat white ass dominating everything. Yeah.
Imagine him Nikola Jokic was 6'6" and dunking. Right? Imagine that. Imagine somebody built like Jokic was like, right, doing behind the backs. Oh yeah, we robbing ourselves.
Who was the dude who was really good at the was it the street ball stuff? He was a bigger dude.
You talking about DJ?
I don't know.
I
don't know the names.
Are you talking about the tournament?
No. Like mid 2000s, like street ball.
Oh yeah, Escalade.
Yes.
Yeah. Look, nothing in pro wrestling proves this. Nothing goes harder in American athletics than being a big motherfucker who don't look like he is shaped.
Give me a running back that looks like Obafemi. Just put him out there.
Obafemi.
Yeah, just give me look how when did we get the most excited? When did you get the most excited last year? When Bailey Zapp threw that interception to Michael Pierce.
Michael Pierce, baby.
And you saw a big fella going, right? We act like we don't love the athletic fat guy, but the fat guy is what keeps us going, right?
Somebody in the chat gave a good shout to Brandon Jacobs. He was a good chubby back.
That guy was huge.
Brandon Jacobs is a big boy.
Look, Najee Harris, his career would be so much better if he was fat.
He'd be a folk hero.
Run like that anyways. Like, them feet slow. You might as well be fat, right? Because if he was fat, then it'd be like, oh yeah, we not talking about him running with jeans over. Like, who wants to tackle that?
Right.
But no, he got to look like he in prime, pristine shape. So it makes us wonder, why don't you run 4.3? Nah, have somebody out there who runs 4.7 and you like, damn, he run 4.7?
I'm trying to think of just like fat running backs now. Najee Davenport was a little bit bigger.
Man, if there's one position you can stand to be a little fat on that's outside the offensive line in football, it's definitely. Well, you could be fat at quarterback, which we don't see as much anymore because again, we shout out to Big Ben, chubby quarterback.
Was Ben the last fat quarterback?
Yeah, I think Ben's the last, like maybe Jay Cutler at the end of his career.
I don't know. Even then, like Jay Cutler was never like big. Like Ben, like had a couple years where he was like, God damn, Ben, all right.
He was never fat. He was out of shape. Like you just tell that man ain't do no cardio. Right? Like,
Big Ben looked like he came out of the bar to play football.
No, Big Ben, I used to make this joke. He would run and it looked like a man late for work. Like it looked like he was about to lose their job every time Big Ben run. Like you can see the fucking suitcase in his hand. But yeah, with fat quarterbacks, I mean, shout out to Lorenzen Wright. Well, Lorenzen, I think
Jamarcus Russell was fat.
Jamarcus Russell was fat.
Leftwich was a little big too.
Leftwich was a little bit bigger, yeah.
Leftwich was chubby. I think Jacoby Brissett's career would be so much better if he just got a little chubby.
Oh yeah, if he just gained like 20 pounds, that would be great.
Like, you just hear the name Jacoby Brissett, you expected 260, right? Like 260. Patting that ball, standing like a statue, just throwing rockets up the middle, right?
Then he also commented said Dante Culpepper. I don't think Dante Culpepper was fat. I think he was just big.
At the end, Dante was fat.
Yeah, at the end.
Fat? Ah, man, maybe I'm just misremembering.
Miami, I was gonna say Miami.
Yeah, that's fair. Miami. Dante Culpepper was a little bit bigger.
David Garrard
is a big boy, yeah.
They went back to back out there.
Yeah, with Jacksonville, yeah.
Jared Lorenzen, we didn't say him. I mean, he's the originator of the fat quarterback.
Yes. But I'm telling you, man, nothing gets people going more than somebody like that's part of the Cam Scatterboo thing is that he don't look like he should be that athletic, but he is, right? Like that's part of it. And I'm telling us, we be robbing ourselves. Some of these dudes are not incredible athletes at 220 pounds, but man, if they could probably move the same at 260, and you would be amazed. Okay,
I'll say, I mean, Pat Mahomes now, like Pat's a little chubby.
Yeah, he's not fat yet. He's just like he's that dad bod.
He's dad bod.
Right?
All right, that's fair.
Like it's just medium, It's like you're wearing the shirt you still wore in college, but it just looks a little sadder now.
Yeah,
right? Like the
shirt's a little tighter.
Yeah, it doesn't wash well. Like it's not great to look at, but it's not fat.
He's getting football coach body, where like every football coach, like when they wear their polos on game day, you can see their nipples poking through the polo.
Yeah, he's like he's getting coach bod. He's like, hey man, I got to eat these burgers so I can have that armor during the
every time I see like Gruden, it's just always just pointy tit through the polo.
It is a very specific thing to like coaches. Like coaches are built very like there's like I know people get on like NCAA the game for not having a lot of body types for like creation options, but I'm like, hey man, these coaches aren't very creative. You get like 3. You get like the nerdy Mike McDaniels build. You get like the regular standard, right? Like I watch film on the treadmill, but I still eat chicken wings while I do it.
And
right?
then you get
eventually grows into
Rex Ryan.
Yeah, and that eventually grows into like the Bill Belichick, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the big guy, right? Like, oh, you coach defensive tackles. And then like every once in a while you get a jacked strength and conditioning coach that ends up being the head coach, right? Or a former player. And he's still pretty jacked. But like he's like 5 body types, really.
We forgot about Jamarcus Russell.
No, we got Jamarcus.
We got Jamarcus. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got Jamarcus.
Somebody, Tyrone said LeGarrette Blunt for the fat running backs.
Oh yeah, all timer.
People still remember him for the punch over there at Oregon.
Like the day a 3-tech gets a sack and can't pull off a belly rub because he has like a 6-pack, it's the day we lose the football game in the country. Like it's just.
I don't think we'll ever get there.
Yeah, like I need to see every time a 3-tech gets in there, belly rub. Okay, the game's still alive, right? But if we are in a belly rubless 3-tech world, I don't want to live in that world. Okay,
I don't think we'll ever get there.
I'm hoping.
Maravika has a 6-pack, I think.
He's inconsistent. You know, he's inconsistent. But to be fair, he plays like right end in a 3-4, which is a different thing. If your nose tackle couldn't do a belly rub, everybody, the personnel department should be
Travis
fired.
Jones. That's
Travis Jones. You know, Michael Pierce there last year. You guys always have like one.
Michael Pierce is huge. Yes,
Michael Pierce is the largest man. He is what Desmond Watson aspires to be.
Yeah, Michael Pierce. He had to be pushing 4.
Where did Desmond Watson end up signing?
Tampa Bay.
Oh, okay, right on.
Yeah. Which I make the argument maybe 4 threes are killing the fat defensive tackle. You know, because everybody wants to get these downhill pass rush guys. Yeah. I'm like, nah, fat guys can rush the quarterback too. It's not that far. They got to run.
Like, look at Vita Vea. Vita Vea's a great
right now.
Great.
All right.
Anyway, next week we're gonna have discussion about our interior D linemen for all 14. So you have to come back, hit the sub, make sure you put that bell so you know when we come live. And until then, we'll see you next time. Peace out.
Someone get a shout out to Vince Wilfork.